Hello, friends. Welcome to the Powerful Women Rising podcast.
Hey,
I
thanks for
should say,
having us.
I should say welcome back because all three of you have been on the podcast already.
Yeah.
Super
Heck yeah.
fun. This is like three powerhouses here on this call. So if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching the interview on YouTube, brace yourself because I don't think you're ready for all this. All right,
We
ladies.
got a
So
lot of energy in this Zoom. Let's make sure that no crazy electrical things happen because that could happen.
if your stereo is shorting out right now, it's from all this. Um, All right. Do people even call them stereos anymore? Is that even a thing? Is it if your CB radio is not working properly? Okay. So I've done a lot of interviews today and I am nearing the end of my sanity. So here we go. I have these three fabulous women here to interview. They are three of the winners of the 2024 Powerful Women Rising Impact Awards. Megs is the winner of the Podcast Host of the Year Award. Alexandria is the Speaker of the Year recipient. And then Jessica Millhiser is the Powerful Women Rising Podcast Guest of the Year. Yay! So,
Hey.
super excited to talk to you three and hear some inspiration and some wisdom from you guys. So, before we dive in, tell the people just a little bit about you and about what you do. And we can start with Megs, if that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. I'm honored to win the award. I am the host of Organizing an ADHD Brain. It's a podcast all about, well, organizing and having ADHD and how oftentimes our brains love to float in the wind instead of having any structure behind them to actually get the stuff done. And I found a lot of organizing and decluttering in my own life, and I wanted to share my journey and became a coach for women who wanted to find more organizing and decluttering in their own lives and how to figure it out with a unique and beautiful brain like my own. And so I am a coach, I am a podcast host, and I do a variety of other things like momming and I'm wifing and all kinds of other things. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah. And cat momming. Don't forget cat momming.
Oh, yeah. And dog momming. Yep.
Very different than human momming.
Absolutely.
Better, some might say. Alexandria, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Honored to win the award and love getting to speak to your amazing community of women. My name's Alexandria Agresta, professional speaker for going on 13 years now. It's my first love. I love getting to inspire people from stage. Professional speaker turned DJ as well. I've been a raver at night and then I go to the professional world during the day. So it was only a matter of time before I started dabbling in both. And then it got really crazy. I combined the two to become the first ever DJing speaker where I speak and DJ live on stage at the same time. So really bringing together expertise, inspiration, motivation, but with that entertainment and having fun and letting loose, which I really believe we need more of in the professional world. So all things speaking, fun, raving, DJing, I'm your girl. Let's sparkle. Let's have fun. Thanks for having me here.
The more glitter, the better.
I got the sparkles on today just for
You
you.
do. You were ready. You were ready. Jessica, what about you?
Hey y'all, Jessica Millhiser here. Melissa, it's so good to see you, and it's really lovely to meet you too. Oh my gosh, you guys are incredible. So super happy to be here. I am the owner of J Mills Consulting, and I am a business consultant and strategist. And really, my area of expertise is focusing on your business's internal structure. So your business foundation, all of those internal back-end nitty-gritty pieces that really need to be in place in a solid way so that your business can grow in a consistent, reliable, and sustainable way. So I work with service-based entrepreneurs all over the states, and I'm the winner of the Podcast Guest of the Year award, and that just makes my heart so happy. So thank you, Melissa and PWR.
Absolutely. You've been on podcast twice already. This is your
I know.
third time.
I know.
Man, lucky, lucky
Fun.
us.
Lucky indeed.
Thank
Lucky
you.
indeed.
I love this because I was listening to Jessica talk and I was going to shout her out and say, I always want to shout Jessica out because I've worked with her several times. I'm working with her this year again, and she's helped me so much. And then I was thinking about the two of you and listening to Meg's podcast and helping me get organized in my brain has been like a huge game changer. I'm generally pretty organized, like in the space, usually because there's too much going on in here. So if there's like one thing cluttering out here, I'm like, this is too much. And I've worked with Alexandria. I've taken several of her speaker courses. We're not going to talk about that infamous picture that she likes to bust out once in a while. But maybe we'll bring it out on social media sometime.
Hey, it's everything we could have ever asked for in a picture of you.
It is a winner. Listen, the assignment, ladies, was she was going to take a picture of all of us who are in this training. And she said, I want you to all imagine that you just landed like the biggest, best speaking gig of your life.
Oh God.
And that's what we were supposed to do when she took the picture. And everybody else is like,
Really? She
no,
went
this is
all out.
Yeah. Good.
Good. You were the only one who understood the assignment, girl.
I told the truth, people.
Offline, I'm gonna need to see a picture of that.
I'll pull it
Yeah,
up.
we'll find it. We'll
I
find
got
it.
you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what each of you does and how people can gain some expertise or some insight or some inspiration from what you do that has brought you here to winning these awards, whether it is speaking or being on podcasts or all of these things are part of networking, right? Like I always say, networking doesn't just happen at a networking event. It happens anywhere that you are connecting with other humans. So when Alexandria is on stage and she's DJing, that's networking because she's connecting with humans up there. You're connecting with humans when you're hosting a podcast or when you're guesting on a podcast. So let's talk a little bit about how women who are listening to this, who are also entrepreneurs, who may be thinking like, maybe I could start a podcast or a guest on podcasts or start speaking, and how that kind of relates to their business. So I'm going to start with you, Alexandria, because you've been doing this for a while now. So talk a little bit about the impact that being a speaker can have on a business. Obviously, speaking is your business, but for a lot of people, that's not their business, but they want to use it as a way to grow.
I think it all starts with understanding that even if you're not creating a business out of public speaking in some way, shape, or form, you are publicly speaking every single day. You said it perfectly, Melissa. You don't need to be at a networking event to network. It's anytime you're out connecting with humans. How do you connect with humans? You're usually speaking to them. And when we're speaking, especially in the professional environment, we're usually wanting to use our words to inspire someone to do something. So if we really bring that down and understand, we don't have to be on a big stage with the Britney Spears microphone, with the lights. Like, I love that stuff. That gets me jazzed, but if it doesn't get you jazzed, that's okay. You are speaking in a way to move people and inspire people in your business every single day. Coffee chats, when you're sharing on LinkedIn, the networking calls you go to, sales calls, even when you're creating your customer and client experiences, right? You're using language and words and experiences to get someone to do something different. So I love the idea of taking out the glitz and glam of public speaking and realizing it's a skill, and it's a very valuable skill that we use every single day. So really choosing to take your we'll use the word public speaking, we'll put it over there, just your communication skills. Choosing to take those to the next level is going to completely transform your level of impact, your level of influence. I think of Melissa, she's such a great example. I got to be just one of her guides and trainers on her speaking journey, and to see her grow and blossom, creating her own platform in her own unique way. That's the power of communication and public speaking right then and there. So communication all day, your words create your reality. And most importantly, your words can inspire people and move people and create completely new realities. That's pretty badass that this vocal cords and this voice box can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're saying too, because sometimes people hear us talk about speaking and they're like, oh, no way. Like, I have no interest in getting on a stage in front of a bunch of people while they're all staring at me and making a joke that no one thinks is funny. Like, no, thank you. But what you're saying really is the reason I wanted all three of you on an interview together is because there's so many different ways to share your voice. You can share your voice on a big stage. You can share your voice on a podcast. You can share your voice in writing, but it's still your voice, right? And there's still that piece of authenticity that is required, and also that piece of skill to be able to get what is in here and in here out into the world in the way that you want to get it out into the world.
Perfectly said. Exactly that. Our words matter and they play a role in every single aspect of our lives, not even if it's on a stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Megs, let's talk about your podcast because this is something that I hear from a lot of female entrepreneurs. A podcast is one of those things that is like we see other people doing it and then we're like, oh, I need to do that, right? Like there are so many people, even just on threads today, I saw so many threads from people that are like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. All my friends say I should start a podcast. Should I start a podcast? And I'm like, people, I'm not really sure you grasp what all goes into having a podcast. But Megs, let's talk to you a little bit about your decision to start a podcast. And for the people who are out there listening, how has that changed your business for the better or the worse? And you're muted, by the way.
It's because my kitten was making too many noises. What a great question. Yeah, thank you for asking. When I first started my podcast, I went into it thinking I was going to start a podcast just about organizing. I wanted to teach people how to create Pinterest perfect spaces in their homes. And I quickly realized that that was not only not the reality of my own life, but also not the reality of so many other people's lives, and more specifically with ADHD. And so when I went into it, I had this one vision of what was going to happen. And then as I continued to do it, my vision continued to evolve, which I think is the brilliance behind setting an intention to do something or even having a vision or a goal for the future. Like you set your eyes on the prize and then you take these little baby steps in the direction of what that is. And as you come along, like the universe puts these other opportunities in your place that you get to discover what you're truly meant to be. And you get to kind of follow this path that really makes sense for you. I took a course on podcasting before I started this thing. I probably spent way too much money on it, but it helped me in so many different ways. And some of the things I heard was, hey, most people who podcast quit after 7 episodes. And sure enough, after 7 episodes, I'm like, why am I doing this? Who is even listening to me? And then I kept doing it and I kept going. And as I continued to do it, I realized I needed to put more meaning behind what the podcast meant to me. I know some people want to start a podcast because they expect to generate money from it right away. And while there's so many different ways that you can make money with your podcast, that's not necessarily the norm for everyone. And there's so many different ways to generate money. How do you pick just one? Where do you start? Because like where you put your effort, that's where that grows. And then what about the downloads? Do the downloads matter? How many people are listening? And if you get caught up in that number, you can get focused on the wrong thing too quickly. So when I really honed in on my message and just decided that I wanted to be authentic in the voice that I was delivering, that's where things I felt changed for me. And in the beginning, I was very, very just confident. I went out and asked Peter Shankman, he wrote the book Faster Than Normal about ADHD brains. And I was like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And he said yes. And he was my first interview. I didn't even have the podcast launched yet. So I just decided that if I'm going to go for this, I might as well go for it big time because I want my voice to be heard. But for those of you who are just thinking about starting a podcast, I will say that when you do solo episodes, putting yourself out there in a way that people are just listening to your voice feels scary. And the more you do it, the less scary it is. And then same with podcast interviews. I know sometimes I sit there and I nod too much and I'm like, oh my gosh, Megan, stop it with your head. Or sometimes I'll like be making noises in the background and I'm listening to the editing and I'm like, what am I doing? Right. but it's just fascinating how you can evolve in the space and how you grow into something so much more. And so I'm excited where I am now. I hit 1 year as my podcast. My podcast launched February 12th of last year. So 1 year is right around the corner, and I can't wait to see what it does in the next year. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love what you said about knowing your intention. Like, why are you starting the podcast and staying focused on that? And I think that's true for any of the things that we're talking about today, because it's easy to get caught up. Like, I do it too. I get so caught up in like how many downloads there are, how many subscribers I have on YouTube. And I'm like, it's not even that many more downloads than I had 6 months ago. But it's like, first of all, lots of people listen without downloading. Second of all, lots of people are listening on other platforms that you have no idea. Lots of people are downloading and not listening. So like, it's not really helpful. But for me, the thing I always come back to is I'm like, why do I keep doing the podcast? Because it is one of the best ways that I network. Like, I get to connect with people who, granted, they're coming because they want something from me, right? Like, they want to be on the podcast, but it allows me to connect with so many people who I otherwise might not have the opportunity to connect with when it comes to my guests. And every time I come back to that and I remember like that is a huge part of why I'm still doing it, then I'm like, okay, no one cares about how many subscribers you have on YouTube. So know why you're doing it and stay focused on that, even if it changes, because it will change.
Oh my gosh, totally. And I think what's also really cool is I've grown through all of these interviews. Like, I'm asking the questions I want to know. And if you want to know them too, cool, because you're listening to my podcast. But now I've gotten to grow in a way that I didn't even expect. So that was definitely a reward I didn't even see coming. And Jess, I can't wait to have you on my podcast. I'm like, oh, we could totally find a way for you to be on my podcast. We can make this work.
Obviously, I would love that.
Yeah.
So Jess, let's go to you. Let's talk a little bit about being a podcast guest. I know you do a lot of speaking, you do a lot of like in-person live workshops. So using your voice and communicating effectively is not new to you. But when it comes to being a podcast guest, what do you think it is that makes you so awesome?
Um, so I guess what I would say is number one, have a really solid understanding of what it is you are going to talk about. Like, what are my topics? What are my areas of expertise? What do I feel passionate about? And again, coming back to the intention, right? What is my intention of utilizing these spaces, speaking, podcasting, etc. So really having a solid understanding about that. And then based on your topics, based on your areas of expertise, what podcasts would be appropriate for you? What audience are you trying to target? What audience are you trying to educate, empower, inspire, etc.? What is a great, or even, maybe you've got tangential audiences that could still be great introductions for you as well. So who are you trying to get in front of? And a lot of that is based on your topics and areas of expertise. And then once you have an understanding of that, it's not about you. It's about the podcast's audience. It's about their members. It's about their community. And how can you contribute within your area of expertise to their audience and to their members? And I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that because you're like, oh, this is a great visibility piece for me. And oh, I just want to keep educating and promoting and like all the things. But like with podcast guesting in particular, and I really kind of think with all speaking engagements in particular, it's really about what the audience is going to take away. And what are you doing to engage them and guide them or offer them some kind of tangible takeaways. So I think that's a key piece when you are looking at podcast guesting in particular. And a lot of that can also come down to, is this the right fit for me? Because maybe not every podcast is the right fit for you. You're like, there's not a lot of overlap, or there's not a lot of collaboration, or I'm just not loving that vibe, and that gets back to the heart of like your intention and your characters and your integrity and things like that to make those choices for yourself. But it really is, how can you help the podcast host and their members?
Yeah, that's really good. I was just talking to Jen Hart, who won the Business Support Person of the Year. I was interviewing her before this, and she was talking about how one of the most important things that she's learned in business is how to say no to people who want to give her money, or people who want to give her opportunities, or people who want to give her stages. Because in the beginning, it was like, I will work with anyone, I will do anything for any price, I will get on any stage, I will talk to whoever. And, we were talking about learning and getting to that place that's like, it's always surprising to me when someone applies to be a guest on the podcast and they've never listened to it. I'm like, you might want to change this practice, because I may be nothing like what you are interested in vibing with, right? And same for you, Alex. You can probably talk about this as far as being on stages. Like, you don't want to just get on any stage that anyone will let you get on and speak, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I learned that the hard way. Yeah. Not every stage is for you. And I think we have that blind hope in a way. And what that means to me is we're so passionate, we're so excited, and we know that our message and our business can help everyone. But we have to think about the other side. Not everyone is the perfect fit for you, and not everyone's in a position to even hear what you have to say. Maybe their ear holes are hearing it, but they're not hearing it like from here. So yeah, learn that the hard way. And now this girl does some serious vetting of a lot of stages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's also a good point that you brought up, Melissa, is like, if you are going to be like, maybe you are applying to a bunch of different podcasts with that, kind of fit your vibe. If you get accepted, definitely listen to an episode or two prior to getting on, so that you can understand what because not everybody does interview style. Some people do conversational style. Some people don't really provide you like, here are some questions that I'm probably going to ask you. Some people just wing it. So having a really strong understanding of like, what is their vibe, what is their flow, so that you're prepared and can kind of move through as the guest well.
Yeah, absolutely. Megs, you've had several guests on your podcast. What do you find makes the best guest?
Ooh, that's so amazing.
I didn't prepare you for that question at all.
No, but that's such a good question. So I find the best guests are the ones that are just willing to answer any questions. I love to have just a natural, organic conversation. And so some people are like, what questions are you going to ask me? So I love that you asked me this question, right? Because I want the off the cusp answers that you haven't necessarily prepared for. And really just willing to share your true story without giving me facts and data and all of this stuff. Like, really, people want to know about you. And I love podcasts for the reason that we're having conversations that are so much more than just like, how's the weather? Like, what's your job doing nowadays? Right? Like, we're doing so much more, and we're asking so much more that really impacts people's lives because people can relate to it. Right. And that's why people keep tuning in, because they hear your story and you're like, oh my gosh, I hear myself in you, which means I want to come back and listen to you more. Or I hear myself in Jess and I feel like, not like, maybe Jess could help me, or I just want to follow her. She seems like someone who has all of the words that I want to hear. And I think with business ownership nowadays, it's so much more than just finding the right business for you. It's finding the right person you want to work with and understanding their ethics and the way that they're going to deliver on promises. And I think that you can get a lot from listening to them on a podcast. And I know I've listened to people on podcasts through someone else's show to get to their show, to then go to their program, to then like buy their book, right? Like, there's so many different aspects of finding things to support you and conversations to support you on the platform. And then I forgot the original question. So there's ADHD for you. Hopefully I answered it.
You did answer it. You did answer it.
Cool.
I was just asking about what makes a good guest.
Yeah, absolutely. So one that's listened to your podcast, I think if they come in, I had this incredible guest from Denmark, and she is just this vivacious, beautiful soul. She emailed me and she said, hey, I love your podcast, and here's the review I've already left for you. So already she had me hooked and sinker. I was like, yes, woman, absolutely. Then she told me about her own business. She's an ADHD artist out of Denmark, and she creates these visual aesthetic pieces for neurodivergent people. And she's like, here's why I would be a good fit for your podcast. And it was like love at first email. And from there, she connected me with another podcast host in England. And I'll never forget, he sent me so this is what makes a good host too, but he sent me like a voice message on Instagram, like the voice recording from his job in the middle of the night in England. And he's like, hey, I'm really excited about her. Like he's whispering in the back room somewhere. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I already love you that you took this time to like think about me and get me this message right away. So it's just really neat when people show you that they actually care and they're not just trying to get on your podcast to get more likes or things like that. It's that connection piece again. So yeah.
So you're saying
be
an
a
actual
human. Yeah, just be a human. So like, there you go.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, I can tell you because I know all three of you pretty well. Some of you more well than others. Some of you I've seen more late nights, wine-induced parties. But I can tell you what I think about the three of you, which is I think one of the things that makes Alexandria so awesome is her authenticity, her willingness to just show up as she is and the person that she is, and share her goofy heart. And like, she has these funny little Alexandria isms that everybody's like, did she really, what is that? And she just like goes with it. And by the end, you're like, I love this person. I don't know even what she is, but I love her. And to be able to balance that like authenticity with professionalism, and also like your ability to entertain people while also educating and inspiring them. Like having all of those things in one is not something that a lot of people have and have been able to like hone and perfect. And I think that's one of the things that makes you such an amazing speaker. For Megs, I think obviously the authenticity is a big piece of it, especially with people with ADHD, especially adults with ADHD. Those of us diagnosed later in life that spent our whole life thinking like, what is wrong with me? Why does my brain work like this and other people's brains seems to work much better? To hear from someone that is so relatable, right? Like you say things that you're just like me. Like you say things like, you come up with really weird examples. Like, we're not just having a conversation about like, what is the weather and how are things going at your job? That then like after you replay in your head and you're like, did I really just say that? But like, that's why people love you, right? Because they see themselves in you and you're not this like perfect, polished, like I've figured everything out about how to live with ADHD and now I will bestow all of my wisdom and perfection upon you. And I think too, the big thing being a podcast host is that you ask the questions that other people are like screaming at their phone wanting you to ask. Like nothing makes me crazier than listening to a podcast interview where the person they're interviewing is like, yeah, and then you just have to do X, Y, and Z, and then amazing things happen and you make $10 million. And you're like, but how do you do that? And the podcast host is like, great, that's fabulous. So anyway, and you're like, no, how did he do it? So I love that you always ask the questions that people want to know the answers to. And Jess, I think a big part of it, what you touched on, is your willingness to share very openly. Like there's never this sense of like, you know how they teach to do webinars in a way that's like, you are kind of teaching them something, but what you're really doing is showing them like how much they don't know and how much they need to hire you, right? And so you're holding a lot of things back. And when you come on as a podcast guest and do that, and it's really just this veiled, like, I know something that you don't know, so call me if you want to know the thing. Like Jess is the opposite of that. Jess is like, here's what I know. Here's what's going to be helpful for you. She can explain it in a very like concise, simple way that makes sense to those of us who don't have this like big fancy business brain that she has, and shares it very like willingly and generously and in a way that people can understand. And I think that resonates a lot with the audience. And I think it is very much appreciated by the host because there's nothing worse. Well, there are some worse things, but it's pretty bad when you are doing an interview with somebody and you're like 5-10 minutes into it and you're like, this is so not the vibe. It hasn't happened to me very often, but I will say I probably have had 2 or 3 interviews that I've done in all the time that I've been a podcast host that I've been like, I cannot even air this. This is so much salesy weirdo stuff. Like, just can't even do it. So there's my buildup of you 3. I would love to know from the 3 of you before we wrap up, for anybody who's listening to this, particularly female entrepreneurs who are newer in business, they're just getting started, or maybe they've been going for a few years and they are struggling. What's one piece of advice or inspiration that you have for them today? Any of you can go first.
I'll kick us off.
Okay.
This is always my little nugget of wisdom. And it's especially relevant if you're wanting to do something new, step into that thing that might feel a little big, a little scary. It's really easy to rely on time. Oh, that takes too much time. I don't know, right? We use these excuses to keep us where we are. So my little nugget of wisdom to share with you is that things don't take time. They take courage. Time just watches you. It's like a painting on the wall. Watches you do stuff. It watches you not do stuff. It's courage that is this catalyst that breaks your heart wide open, that gives you that oomph, the zhuzh, as we say here. I love that we all say the zhuzh. It gives you that sparkle to go forward and just take a risk and be you, because what do you have to lose? And it ultimately helps you be who you want to be and do what you want to do now. So we're going to let all those little time excuses go away, because the time is now, especially for these incredible women in your community. I can only imagine the depth and the wisdom and the just everything that all of your people have to offer. The world needs to hear it. And there is literally no better time in history than to get on a dang platform, whether it's your own or somebody else's, and go share it with the world. So that's my little chicken nugget of wisdom today.
I love it. It doesn't take time. It takes courage.
Yep.
What about you, Megs?
I'd say, well, there's only one of you. And so building off of what you had said, Alexandria, is the world deserves to hear your voice, and you're depriving them of this incredibleness if you don't give them your voice. But my piece of advice that's actionable that you could take action on today is take a walk, because oftentimes we get so caught up in the day to day. We get so caught up in just going through the motions and trying to just get one more thing done. Give some time back to yourself and take a walk, because every time you take a little bit of time for yourself, you get to show up for the world and yourself even that much more. I'm truly a believer of filling up your own cup first, because when you do that, you get to shine so much brighter for the whole entire world.
I love that. I took a walk today, in fact.
Me too.
I
love it.
Yes, look at us
Yes,
go.
I know what I'm doing
Heck
after
yeah.
this.
Yes.
Weren't you also the one who just posted on Instagram this morning that reel of the mom like face down in the grass that was like me outside touching grass, getting grounded after getting the kids ready for school? Wasn't that you?
Yeah. I'm reminding myself I'm not getting chased by a lion. My children just need to go to school. Yeah. This fight or flight response, I'm like constantly in. Yeah. I just have to remind myself, like, you're safe right now and not about to get eaten. It's okay.
So either take a walk or go lay face down in the grass for a moment.
Whatever you need to do.
Jessica, what words of wisdom do you have for us?
I mean, I love talking about this stuff. I could talk about business identity. I could talk about client journey, but really what I'm going to say is stay the course and give consistency its due. Because I feel like, especially if you're in the earlier stages or you're in kind of transition, or maybe you're feeling like you're in a rut, take a minute and reflect. Why did I do this in the first place? What am I actually shooting towards? What is my goal? What is my objective with X, Y, or Z? And just because, kind of to your point, Alexandria, like some things take time. Some things take time. So give consistency its due and stay the course, and then reevaluate and see where things are at. So maybe things are taking longer than you would like, but don't be quick to react. Oh, it's not working. Have you given it enough time? And then sit with that and make a decision based on that. So that's what I would say.
That's great advice, especially with all the shiny objects out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the Alexandria glitter. We're good with that.
We like those.
It's the other shiny objects that we're like, I had a podcast for 7 episodes, and now what should I do? That didn't work. I didn't go viral. Now what will I do? I love it. Okay, so wrapping up, if people want to connect with you further, which they do, if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely want to connect with these 3 women. They're amazing. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you, learn more about you, connect with you? Jessica.
My website is jmillsconsulting.com. My email is jessica@jmillsconsulting.com. And I'm on LinkedIn as Jessica Millhiser. I'd love to connect with you.
Megs, if people want to see reels of mom's face down in the grass.
Yes, find me on Instagram at organizing an ADHD brain. There's periods in between all the words. My website is mindfulmegs.com. And then you can also find me on any podcast platform, including YouTube, but I'm not on there very much. Organizing an ADHD brain.
Love it. And you, Alexandria.
Yeah, so I'm going all in on Instagram. I love the gram these days. My DJ name is Made for Magic. So you can follow me at Made4 Magic Music. And if you want to listen to some mixes, you can find me on SoundCloud as well. I usually give my professional stuff, but I'm switching it up. I'm giving my music stuff today. Let's go on a walk and listen to music and wear our sparkly clothes.
Yes.
Do it.
Hey.
Zhuzh it up and get out there. Awesome. Well, I will put the links for all of your information in the show notes so that people can connect with you. Congratulations again on these well-deserved awards. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast to share your wisdom and your inspiration with us. You guys are fabulous.
Thank you, Melissa.
you.
It's truly an honor. I really appreciate it.